Today I'd like to introduce you to Dabney Montgomery, a man who served his country twice, once as a member of the Tuskegee Airmen in World War II, and again as a bodyguard of Martin Luther King on the march from Selma to Montgomery. Most people started World War II by believing that African Americans shouldn't serve in America's armed forces. Among the biggest challenges to that way of thinking came from the Tuskegee Airmen, a group of all African American fighter pilots who served in World War II, of whom Dabney Montgomery was a member. Because of how well the Tuskegee Airmen did, the Air Force was the first branch of the armed services to integrate to allow all Americans to serve their country. In 2007, Dabney Montgomery and the rest of the Tuskegee Airmen received the Congressional Gold Medal of Honor from President George W. Bush, our nation's highest civilian honor. But that honor was a long ways away in 1945. In Atlanta, Georgia, 10 minutes after Dabney Montgomery had been honorably discharged from the Army, he attempted to enter Atlanta's Union train station on his way home to his hometown of Selma, Alabama. But Dabney said, "Before I could get in, a white officer threw up his hands and said, 'You can't come in this door, boy. You got to go around the back. You can't come in here. You're black. You got to go around the corner.'" But things didn't get any better for Dabney when he got to his hometown. When he went to the courtyard in Selma, Alabama to go ahead and register to vote, the white woman behind the counter told him he had to find 3 white men that would endorse me as a good Negro that would not cause any trouble in Selma, Alabama if I voted. When he returned with those endorsements, he was also denied again, this time because you don't own any land. 20 years later, in 1965, Dabney Montgomery had moved to New York, but he turned on his TV one evening and saw protesters on the Edmund Pettus Bridge.
After I was sitting at home in New York City, and I saw that attack on people in Selma on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. They gassed them and beat them with sticks, the sheriff, the officials in their uniform, because they were marching to the governor's office to vote. And I saw them knocked down, and I saw the gas in the air. And I was sitting here. This is happening in my hometown, Selma. I said, I'm going and get a taste of that gas. I went to my director and said, I got to go home. She knew I was from Selma. You're not going to get violent. No, I'm not going to get violent, but I'm going home and take part in that movement. I went home, and every day we went and had prayer meeting on the steps of that courthouse that said, no, you cannot vote because you own no land. And the march was over. You know the result of that march. The whole voter registration was opened up to blacks. I had to go back to Selma. And when I went back to Selma, I had to go to the courthouse and see about property that my father had owned. And I said, while I'm in this house, let me go down to that room where I was denied the right to vote. And when I went down to that room, a black woman was sitting behind the desk where the white woman said, no, you cannot vote. That was my revenge.
It would have been easy for Dabney Montgomery to stay home from World War II. So many people told him he didn't belong there. But he wanted to serve his country, and together with several other men, they went ahead and changed the course of the armed services. It would have been easy for Dabney Montgomery to stay home in New York and just watch what was happening on the TV. But he wanted a taste of that gas. He wanted to make a difference. And today, Dabney Montgomery's shoes that he wore on that march hang in a museum honoring his service. We've talked a lot about going ahead and pushing when times are tough. But you know what? We're probably not going to see anything any near as tough as Dabney Montgomery lived through. But if we keep pushing, we have a chance of changing the world even a fraction as much as he did, and many others like him. Let's go ahead and get out there today. All right, take care.